Hi there. So in this video, what I want to talk about is, I'm actually going to talk about the water cycle. Now, I'm sure we all remember from school the water cycle. Okay, the water cycle. Now you're going to have to bear with me because I'm going to draw here. Okay, and drawing is not my strong point. But the water cycle works like this. Here we've got the sea, yeah, and the sun. It's happy. The sun's always happy. All right. The sunshine shines down on the water, evaporates the water, forms clouds. Those clouds move over the mountains. Okay. Fall as rain on the mountains, which run down the side of the mountain and into the sea. And the process starts all over again. It's what we call a closed loop system. And it's self-recycling. What does that mean? It means that no water is lost from the system at any point. Okay? What's in the sea evaporates, falls as rainwater, runs through the river and back to the sea. And it just keeps going and going and going and going and going. And the act of being evaporated and going through the mountains and so on cleans the water so that we can consume the water. Now this is an important thing to bear in mind as well. The loop actually has, a side loop into it, which is us and animals and trees, okay, that all need water. So we extract the water from the system, but we all end up putting the water back into the system because trees evaporate water as they warm up. We also sweat and urinate, so the water that we consume ends up making its way back into the system, and so do animals. So within this closed loop system, there's also another sort of mini closed loop system, yeah? But there's no need to inject extra water into the system. It maintains itself. It's a stable system, okay? Now, what I'm going to show to you now is it's going to be a little bit abstract, and I understand that. Okay, it's going to be a little bit abstract. But let's say, as an example, that some self-proclaimed water bankers, some self-proclaimed water bankers come into the ocean and say, this water is ours. All right? Same thing happens, water evaporates, falls here. Now, what happens is, this water belongs to them. So what the water bankers say is, look, the water belongs to us. If you want water, we will lend it to you. We'll lend you the water. Yeah? But you've got to give us it back. Plus interest. Okay, so you consume the water along with the trees and the animals and everything. But you have to pay back into the system the water that you have consumed plus more water. How do you do that? Where do you get that extra water from to put back into the system? Where do you get it from? Because then what happens is these water bankers make their calculations and they say, oh, well, we have we have 1,000 units of water, okay? And these guys have consumed 500 units of water, okay? So they also have to pay us back those 500 units of water plus the interest, which let's say is 100 units of water, okay? So the bankers say at the end of the first cycle, we should have 1,100 units of water. They've not done anything. All they've done is proclaimed themselves the owners of the water and told us now that the water is not free for us to drink. They will lend it to us at interest. They've not done anything. They've not done any work. They've just proclaimed themselves the owners of the water. So at the end of the cycle, they say, ha, we will have made an extra 100 units of water. But when they count the amount of water that's there, guess what? There are only 1,000 units because you cannot put more water into the system, because inherently in the system is the amount of water that there is. There's no more water. You cannot get water from anywhere else. You see? You can't. So what do? They say, well, there's water missing from our system. We're missing 1,000 units of water, 100 units of water, sorry. Where is it? So what do? The next time they say, well, now you're consuming the water. You're going to have to give us more water and more water to cover the units that are missing. So this time they're expecting 1,200 units of water. But there's still only 1,000 units of water. Why? Because you can't put more water into the system. So what does that make people do? They start getting worried. So they start taking water out and storing it. Like we're told to do in our bank system, save money, save money, save money. So they start taking water out of the system to store it. What happens? They go and count their water, and now they've only got 500 units of water. There's even less water in the system now. So what do they say? Right, well, as you can't pay us in water, what have you got? So they start taking your animals, they take your house, they take your car, they take whatever they feel like, they take it all. Why? Because they've proclaimed themselves the owners of the water. They have no right to it. It's not theirs. It's a resource for everybody. But they claim themselves the owners of it. Do you see how once somebody takes private control of a public commodity, the system will die? Because this is exactly what happens in our monetary system. This is exactly what has happened to our economy. The private bankers have proclaimed themselves the owners of the money. That's what's happened. And that's why we're told that the national debt is going up, that there's less and less money available into the system, that things are getting more and more expensive. But actually what's happening is the private bankers have proclaimed ownership of the money and expect us to pay, like the water, they expect us to pay more into the system than was originally in the system. Now, if we could print money, that would be great, because we could just print the extra money and put it in the system. But we can't print money. The only ones that can print money are the private bankers, and they don't print it for us to pump it into the system to take up the slack. Do they? They don't. They expect us to do it. And because we can't do it, they take our stuff off us. And the more indebted we are to them, the more stuff they take off us. And it's not going to be long before they're not happy with cars and houses and land. Eventually, they're going to end up with all the commodities. They're going to end up with all the land, all the houses, all the cars, all the animals. They're going to end up with everything. And the only thing that will be left them for to take will be our lives. The actual lives that we are living. And that's the aim, believe it or not, is to take over the life of every single human being on this planet. Don't believe me? Work through the logics of the system. Work through the logics of the system. Now, nobody's ever told me that what they want is human life. But logically, once they've got all the commodities, once they've got the cars and the buildings and the land and the animals and what's left for them to take? The only thing that's left for them to take is your life. And I don't mean kill you. I mean take over your life, like properly enslave you so that you have to do what they say, when they say, and how they say it. It's the only logical conclusion to this unless we change it. So if we had an economic system that was more like the water cycle, as I've explained in the previous version, here we've got the money sea now. This is the money sea. Now the sea is finite. It's finite. I mean, there is a limited amount of water in the sea. Okay, it's not endless, but there is so much of it that to all intents and purposes, it's infinite. Okay, to all intents and purposes, it is infinite. Okay, so the sun heats up the money, which forms these money clouds. Now the sun in this case will be what is impulsing the urge to use the economy. So this will be buying products and services. That is what will impulse the economy. Okay. And so that's warming the money up and getting it into the system. So the banks then rain the money down to the people because they are demanding. They are demanding money because we want to buy things. Yeah? So the money gets rained down. We take the money out. And this is the importance of this system, okay? If you think back to the water cycle, when we drank the water, we then urinated the water and sweated the water back into the system. All of the water we took out of the system was all then put back into the system. So, the only stipulation for this system to work, and again, it's a closed loop system, but now instead of talking about water, we're talking about money. The only stipulation is that you do not save money. You do not take money out of the system. Any money that you take from the system, you put back into the system. And how do you put it back into the system? You spend it. So this is an economic system that instead of telling you that there is a lack of money and you must save it for when you're older, this is an economic system that tells you there is an unlimited amount of money, and to keep the system working, you must spend. Spend. Do not stop spending. Now, on the one hand, you've got a system that tells you that money is scarce. It's hard to earn. You must work hard to get it. And you must also make sure you save some. Don't spend it all, because then when you're old, where are you going to get the money from? Because you're going to be too old to work. And of course, to get money, you have to work. Or you have an economic system, on the other hand, that says money is free, money is plentiful, money is bountiful. There is as much of it as you like. But you must spend it all. You have to spend it. And spend it and spend it. Do not save it. Just keep spending and spending and spending. Yeah, but what about when I'm old? There's an infinite amount of money. You don't have to work to get it. You don't have to work for it. So it doesn't matter if you're 95, 100, 140 years old. Money will be given to you for you to buy the things that you need. Now, I know there are so many people out there saying that, oh, that doesn't work, and it goes against common sense. It works on paper. It works on paper or whiteboard. And if it works on whiteboard, it will work in reality. The only factor is changing human mentality from what we've been told about money to what money could actually be. You see, that's all that has to happen. Our mentality regarding money just has to flip. And instead of thinking that money is scarce and hard to earn, once we realize that money is free and you can have as much of it as you like, provided you spend it, that's all that has to happen. And that's all I'm trying to do in this first level of this course, is to get you to realize how our monetary system has been hijacked and how we can take back the control. Now, of course, this does beg the question that if money is free and infinite and all you have to do is spend it, then you could argue, then why do we need money? Because if everybody can just have as much as they like, then we don't actually need it. If money's free, then why do we need it? We don't, in essence, we don't. We don't. I mean, it wouldn't be needed. But the thing is, to go from a system that we're in at the minute, where money is essential, or it's deemed to be essential, and if you don't have it, you will die, to make that leap to just getting rid of money, that'll never happen. This intermediate step has to take place. The intermediate step has to take place where we as a people take back control of the money. And once we control the money, then we can say as a people, well, then we actually don't need it. But once we take back control of the money in ways that I'm going to show you in further videos, we don't need the bankers. And we could do with the bankers what we like. And I'm sure many of you could think of plenty of things that we could do with the bankers. Okay? I'm sure many things come to your mind. I'm not suggesting we do them, okay? But we could certainly take them out of power by taking back control of the money. And I'm going to show you in further videos how we can do that. It works on paper. And if it works on paper, it works in reality. All we need to do is change our minds about how this works. Okay, you were born free. You're meant to live free. You're not meant to live enslaved to a private bank. All right? See you in the next lesson.